The universe is going to explode in 22 minutes, and if I don't figure out how to stop it, we'll be stuck in a time loop forever. Exploring this whole solar system is our only chance. A single discovery would completely change our fate. Welcome to the full movie of Outer Wilds. In the beginning, it was just an ordinary day, and we suddenly woke up next to a campfire. First, I need to find the launch codes so I can make my first trip into space. There's even a test drone nearby, so you can practice controlling your ship.
This is really good.
Man. Oh my god, Zeki's just exploded. Yeah, good thing I'm a YouTuber and not a NASA pilot. Hey, good morning. Are you stupid or what?
Show some respect, you rotten meat.
Do you think you—
I'm Herchili. I heard you're going to travel. Back in my day, your kind used to cause a lot of fires around here, testing ships and all that. Fortunately, that crappy space program is much better these days. Good luck with those thrusters on your back. Yeah.
Him. Outer Wilds is the name of the space program created by us, the Hearthians. The astronaut Feldspar was one of the pioneers of the program, and this was the seat used in the first spaceflight. Next, we meet Nice, and he's pretty important.
And hey, the boss is about to leave soon. Check it out, there will be some travelers in space with instruments too. I made all of them. Chert has a drum, Ryback has a banjo, and Gabbro has a flute. And there's also Feldspar's harmonica, but he's been missing for a long time. If you see them around, tell them to take good care of the instruments, alright? Use your signal scope to find their sound signals so you can locate them more easily. We are in this together.
We'll find other travelers out there, and trying to locate them by their instruments is our best option. That's what we have the signal scope for, a tool created to recognize and locate specific frequencies. By playing with the kids, we learn how it works. Going up there, we find Moraine. With her, we learn that it's possible to use the signal scope to hear the sound of very distant planets. That's something that will be very useful later on. It tells me Ryback is in the Brittle Hollow. We just need to find a banjo. I tried this on a nearby planet and heard a harmonica. Maybe it's Feldspar? Could he still be alive? I'll only find out by exploring space, and I don't even know which planet it is yet. And taking another look, I can also hear the banjo up there. Pretty cool. And right there, chatting with Arcos, we learn about ghost matter. Certain areas can cause damage, but they're kind of invisible. You can only detect them by using a camera. When you take a picture of the place, you'll see a bluish-green area. So whenever you see that, just avoid it. In the mining area, you can take the opportunity to practice your zero-gravity repair skills. Here we also find Minatufo just chillin'. Hey TikTok, are you excited for today? Hey, let me tell you something. Tektite saw something falling near the village, over in the crater area.
It looks like something
New and different. Check it out later. I'm getting back to work now, alright? Okay, my friend. Alright, that's it. I fixed the first one. Respect the master, man. I solved your problem, buddy. If I fall from here, will I die? Oh no, it was just a test, man. Now the world don't move. Okay, let's head to the observatory so we can continue the story. First thing to read. Founding members of Outer Wilds Ventures, from left to right. Borniana, Gossin, Ardosia, Feldspath. Look, here's Raoul.
Hey boss, that's awesome, huh? It's your first trip, and on top of that, you're going to be the first to use our translation tool. Now it's possible to translate any Nomai text you find, very easily. I believe that thanks to you, we'll have great discoveries very soon. Take a look at this Nomai statue that Gabbro found on his last trip. They were furry, man. Really weird. Anyway, we'll talk later. Yeah?
From the looks of it, the Nomai are curious and mysterious beings that we, the Hearthians, or Woodlanders, encounter during our space explorations. Let's keep that in mind while exploring the planets. In fact, in this room, you'll see a sort of museum that will display various artifacts found and their respective explanations. Stars like our sun generate light and heat by fusing hydrogen into helium. As it aged, the star ran out of hydrogen and began to contract. As the core of the star contracted, it started to heat up, causing the outer layers to expand. The star became a red giant. When its core got hot enough, it began to fuse helium into carbon. If a star is massive enough, it will fuse carbon into heavier elements like iron. Eventually, the star will collapse under its own gravity and then explode in an event called a supernova. Based on Chert's observations, that will be the fate of our own sun. This crystal was taken from a Nomai ruin. It seems to create a gravitational distortion at the location, and it was probably used to cross steep surfaces. Give it a try. Let's see. Oh man, that's wild, dude. Hey, Corniano, how's it going?
Hey, newbie, I see you already know a lot, huh? You told me you want to find the other travelers, right? Look, Chert is at the Hourglass Twins, Ryback is in Brittle Hollow, and Gabbro is in Giant's Deep. As for Feldspar, well, maybe they're gone for good. And maybe you'll find Esker at the Atl Rock. He doesn't usually travel much. That's about it, my friend. Here are the launch codes, and have a good trip. We're in this together.
Well, now it's time to head to the launch. But suddenly, something happened. What is it? And look at these guys, man. Apparently something happened with everything we did. It looks like it got recorded there. Weird, huh? Well, sorry.
Let's talk more about the Nomai.
Insert codes. Look at our little ship. No, Ah! I woke up. The conversation's changed this time, huh? I just died. I guess he didn't take me seriously. I already know the code, so we'll move forward. Logbook. What else? Suit. Pilot. Rumor mode. Huh? Oh, Raoul said that Gabbro went back to Giant Steep to try to learn more about the Nomai statue. I'll start there then for now. Buckle up. For takeoff. Let's go. You are here. Giant Steep. I want to come here. There's the autopilot for people who aren't good at this. Like me, you know? That could be a good idea. Whoa, dang, I'm falling. Oh my god. Wow, I went to check the map, but the game doesn't pause, man. Up, 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 up. Whoa, crap. Oh my god. Subnautica? No. We need to find a way to stop our vehicle. I think we can do it here. Oh, wait. Can we leave it here? I think it worked. Unbuckle. Hold on. This planet is Giant's Deep. Everything here is pretty much water, with a few small islands to explore. On my first visit, I still hadn't figured out how to analyze the scrolls. I learned about some gravitational platforms and got information about a probe that had been launched 8 minutes ago through the orbital probe cannon. Keep that information in mind for now, and be careful because sometimes the islands can be temporarily lifted into space by the tornadoes. Here I also find the projection stones. By placing them in the slots on these walls, it's possible to read the texts, but they branch out and you need to translate each drawing. Placing them in that square lets us project and see the environment where those texts were recorded. We'll explain more when we get to the ship. By the way, I recommend that you always check the rumors to get a more direct summary of the most important topics. Around here, the Cannon space station is orbiting this planet, so it might be interesting to take a look there later. Also, the cannon was fired automatically, without any manual action from the Nomai. Remember, this happened just a few minutes ago. For now, that's it. Next stop, Hourglass Twins. Whoa! Man, am I going to break the ship like this? I can hold here and fix it. I knew it. I was out of thrust. Man, are you heading to the sun? Autopilot? Hey, Autopilot! What's going on? This place is possibly one of the most important in the game, but at first, it's really complicated to figure it out. I was on the Ash Twin, and here, at the start of a new cycle, it's all covered in sand. Gradually, it transfers everything to the nearby planet, Ember Twin, making it look like an hourglass from a distance. But be careful, because if that sand tunnel catches you, it'll take you to the other side of the planet. Not to mention the risk of taking a lot of damage, so stay sharp. I'm also running out of oxygen. You have to watch out for that. More than half is already gone. Use a medkit and refill your backpack now. Let's go. Wow, all the instruments are here, man. I even got an achievement. Hey man, I think I found it. Hey. There you go. What do we have here in this place? Trees detected. Oxygen tank refilled. Very good. Another one of these little doors. Oh my god, I'm being taken. Whoa, damn. Alright, let's go. If you're going to take me, then let's go. Yeah, oh my god. No! It broke my H2O. I'm going to die. That's it. It's over. I'm dead. And now, after that statue looked at us, we're stuck in this time loop. And with each death, or each end of the cycle, we go back 22 minutes. Following the next rumor, I went towards Esker, who's on Attlerock, which is our planet's moon. The most important thing about this rundown moon is that, according to church records, one of the planets, called Dark Bramble, took the place of an old planet that used to be there. Moving forward and using the signal scope, we find Esker whistling. Check out the guy's little corner. You gotta respect it. Let's go talk to him.
This is the Luna Outpost. It used to be busy, but now it's mostly abandoned. No one has come by in a long time. The outpost was for fixing ships and was a meeting point. But I think that
Everything evolved.
everything has changed so much that they don't need this place anymore. I stay because I like the silence. It's a shame the space program no longer mentions this outpost, but what can you do?
On the moon, there's a great spot to hear everyone's instruments. The most interesting is Feldspar's harmonica from Timber Hearth. So I quickly went there, following the harmonica sound. He's definitely around here. What is this place? Talking to Tektite, we figured out that the sound of the harmonica is coming right from the middle of this suspicious seed. A seed that seems to have come from the dark bramble. And what he asks in the end is for us to send a camera inside to see what we can find. After all, sticking your hand in there wouldn't be an option. When I had that conversation, I didn't really understand what he wanted, so I left. But don't worry, I'll be back soon and send the camera in to fulfill his request. What's that? What's that? My God in heaven. That's the supernova. Yeah, I'm done for. Oh, mama! Just like TikTok told us, this seed is really from the dark bramble, because when I pointed the camera there, the place was totally dark. What's going on, bro? Bro?
I know.
Let's go, the depths are over there, and dark bramble is far away. I'll try to go down slowly if there's a way. Do you think this is gonna go really bad? Whoa, damn, it's just like we saw, right? There's some red stuff over there. I'll try to go more to the middle because you can't see anything from here. Look, Louisiana, is it just a little plant? Oh crap, that scared me! No! No! Get out of here, trash. Filthy. Man, this thing turned into Subnautica in space. Are you crazy? Don't follow Louisiana because she's going to eat you. Hey, yo. We're here. There are the twins. There's Brittle Hollow. I think I went there, didn't I? I haven't gone yet. I don't think I've been here yet. Pro here. Look, there's a blue light. Already on this mountain here. Unidentified signal nearby. Oh. Super weird, man. Nobody told me this game was a horror game. Escape Pod 1. Distress signal. What's this here? Nomai recording. Not translated.
Is everyone safe? No one was seriously injured by the impact of the escape pod crash. We are incredibly fortunate. At least that's good news.
Do you know if we've received anything from Escape Pod 2 or Escape Pod 3?
No, I was unable to make contact.
However, my equipment is able to pick up the distress signals from the other two escape pods.
If it's any comfort, both escape pods should be structurally intact. I'll keep trying to reach them. My gratitude. If we can't, Tati, the light is approaching again. Everyone, hold on! Immediately, the volcanic moon returned. Watch out for ash and debris. I believe the moon is gone.
This planet doesn't seem inclined to receive guests. We are certainly not welcome on this surface. We need to find shelter and quickly.
The volcanic moon won't take long to return.
I've observed several promising locations below the surface.
But we would need to build a way for everyone to descend from this canyon safely. Maybe we can build platforms?
From inside the ship, I find information about the fall of this capsule and an emergency exit that leads us to a huge hole. But I didn't expect these stairs to be too fragile, and I ended up getting hurt. My name, Minor. What's this? There's a black hole down there. No! Really? I'm going to die in the black hole. What's that? Whoa! Where am I? I was taken to space. Man, 5 years to get here? I'd rather explode in a supernova. Goodbye, cruel world. Ship log. All 3 escape pods were launched from something called the Vessel, which was pretty badly damaged. The Nomai survivors, who crashed in Brittle Hollow, climbed down a cliff to a place to shelter below the surface. Going back there, we discovered what seems to be a city built by the Nomai. Important points. This planet here suffers from meteor strikes because of the volcanic moon that orbits the area. And that causes some terrain to be destroyed and carried into the black hole. In other words, walking around here, depending on the time, can be impossible. Another detail is that the Nomai were curious about a signal called the Eye of the Universe. That's what attracted them to this galaxy. This signal was seen while they were still on the Vessel, which is the name of the main ship that launched those 3 emergency pods. In fact, in drawings we found, it's possible to see how the main ship was caught by some thorns. Very similar to those in the Dark Bramble and the seed that's over there in Timber Hearth. After the cycle ended, I analyzed the rumors and realized there's a pod on the Hourglass Twins, another here in Brittle Hollow, and a 3rd in the Dark Bramble. I think that last one has already been eaten, huh? But for now, let's go find the one that's on the Hourglass Twins. Heading there, I can easily spot one of those ships all smashed up around here. It's nearly impossible to miss the distress signal. Inside, there's a Nomai recording discussing everyone's health and trying to locate the others. But of course, the pods landed on other planets. Next to it, there's another recording that tells a little about their exploration on this planet. It seems that the underground caves here have a more pleasant climate, making it possible to take shelter. So they got together to explore the labyrinths below. And they left some inscriptions to help them find their way. And be very careful, there's a warning. It seems that the sand in the area tends to rise, so let's stay alert about that. During my exploration, I found several notes. A little room with trees to recover oxygen, and even fossils of those trashy fish from the dark bramble. And the funny thing is, there's something to read there, but I couldn't find an entrance. Moving on, there were some instructions on how to find their shelter. But I think I had already spent too much time, and the sand was rising more and more. Eventually I had to leave, since I couldn't go any further. Back to our journal, we recorded the fish fossil, which is called anglerfish, and also the information about the location of the shelter. I wandered a bit more to find something else, but the sand had already covered nearly everything. So I went to the neighboring planet connected to this one. After all, the sand that was there moved over to this one, and now we can see things that were previously covered. Entering this large structure, we have some records. It seems they finished building the teleportation core directly from the black hole forge. And while we were finishing collecting the information, our time was up. But alright, going back to our logbook, we learned that there are huge towers that were built on the Ash Twin, and the White Hole Station was used as a model. Finally, we have another clue that points to the White Hole Station, something we haven't seen yet. That's it for now, and I quickly decide to go back to the twins. At first, I go to the Ember Twin to try to find some more information. And look, my friends, we have Chert playing his drums. Now, I just don't understand why he has a golden egg head, but okay. One very interesting piece of information he shares is that during his observations, he saw how the dark bramble appeared. There was a fifth planet in the solar system that seems to have been swallowed by the bramble, and now that thing is growing more and more. And the fifth planet doesn't even exist anymore. In fact, pieces of it were broken off and sent flying through space. At this point, the journal is updated, so we need to take a look at it later. While exploring the caves, I found some records about the cave at the bottom of the lake and the dry lake. One of the companions explored there and disappeared. At this point, we discover the quantum rocks. I was initially shocked, but they're actually really cool. Whoa. What was that? Look at that, man, that really freaked me out. I stayed quiet, but these rocks teleport when they leave your field of vision, and they can come back if you try to look again where they were. For example, in a dark place, you can touch it and turn off your flashlight. When you turn the light back on, you'll teleport along with it. By doing this, we find new records, and that's how one of the Nomai's colleagues had disappeared. For them, this rock was also a discovery, and they defined it as a new quantum law. They had knowledge about a quantum moon, which only appears sometimes. Maybe we need to look for it too. Similarly, there's a rock north of the cave at the lake's bottom that only appears occasionally. I think that one will be harder to find. Going back to the journal, we remember that Chert mentioned an increase in supernovas happening in other distant solar systems. And then we added all that information about the quantum objects and rocks, which we already understood how they work. Moving on, time was running out. I'm choosing to watch The End of the World with my great friend Golden Egghead. It was a pleasure meeting you, buddy. See you soon, even if you don't remember. We're in this together. While I was once again looking at our journal, I saw that the conversation I had with Chert before the supernova was recorded. Most likely, all the Traveler characters probably have something interesting to say if you talk to them just a few seconds before the supernova arrives. But anyway, let's continue with our journeys. I went back to the twins and found some notes about the quantum moon. It looks like they managed to track it successfully. They found 5 planets that it orbits, but there's a 6th location that the radar couldn't identify. Another detail worth mentioning is that all those fragments, stones, or quantum rocks we find out there originally come from the quantum moon. Afterward, I explored Giant's Deep and finished reading text I had missed earlier. With that, we learned the following. Under the water, there's the planet's core, but there's a current that won't let you sink. However, it seems there is a way to get through it, but we still don't know how. I also learned that there's an observatory located in Brittle Hollow and the Tower of Quantum Knowledge, so later we have to try to find those. After all, the observatory is there. That's where we can find out how the Nomai found a way to get through the currents. Well, I made use of the rest of the time I had and found another island here in the deep, but I didn't have time to read the text. Damn, supernova! When I returned, all the islands were being sucked in. Let's see if they come back, right? Ouch! Damn, the thing fell on me, man! What was that? Now we have more time. There's a structure here on another island, but I don't know where it's from. But there's some text to read over there. Welcome to Giant's Deep, friends. I'm excited that you're finally getting to see the statues. If I'm not in my dwelling, I'll probably be in my workshop below, inside the island. Oh, there's something down there. I wonder if I can get down through here. No. Man, this sucks. Ouch, what happened? Did the ship explode? We came back and there's an unidentified signal nearby. Now what signal could this be? Look who's here. How is this guy just chilling here, man? How are you relaxing here, my friend? It doesn't make sense. It's Gabbro. This guy is really crazy. The human Gabbro reveals something unexpected. He also has his memory restored every time he dies in the time loop. He says that one of the Nomai stone statues on the island looked back at him. The same thing happened to him as to us. The island was suddenly taken into space again during the conversation. There wasn't any new information after that. I think that's all from here. Let me check what's new in our journal. Gabbro's island connected a lot of things here, huh? Gabbro sees a bright light in the sky. At the start of each loop, something must be happening in the orbit of Giant's Deep. I wanted to see if the currents are here. That must be it for sure. I came from below here. Let's go. Let's go! I didn't expect it to work, but it was similar to an island in Subnautica 1 where we enter through water. If you saw my Subnautica video, you know what I mean. Untranslated recording.
Could you kindly step aside so that Das can get closer to the statue? When pairing, the statue will choose whoever is closest to it. Did you see how her eyes open? This tells us that the statue has been paired with Das. Now, no matter where she is in the solar system, Das' statue will record her memories and transmit them to the Ash Twin project. Each statue will send the memories of a single Nomai to its own storage unit inside the Ash Twin. Each storage unit will be equipped with a mask, a device from the statue that will be able to send the stored memories back to the corresponding Nomai.
In other words, they created a technology capable of storing all their memories using the statues. It would take this data and send it to the Ash Twin project. The question right now is, why would they do something like that? In fact, this is where we can use the projection to see the part of the project where the masks are. In total, we have 3 of them activated. Possibly one is mine, the second is Gabbro's since he also has his memories intact in each time loop, and the third I still don't know whose it could be. But hold on, let's summarize all this information to make the story easier to understand. So far, the Nomai's motivation was to find the signal from the eye of the universe. They also created an orbital probe that is launched at the start of every cycle up in the orbit of Giant's Deep. And now we've discovered that they created statues that connect to a person, being able to send all memory data to the Ash Twin project. There in the project, the masks do the job of returning the data back to the person. This project would only be activated under one condition, if the project was successful, or also in cases of failure. I don't know which one is our situation, but the point is that this damn thing was activated. Starting a new cycle, I decide to visit the orbital probe station. The problem was just finding a way to land there, since my piloting skills were absolute trash. Seriously, especially since I hadn't played in a long time, I was even worse than before. But after many attempts, I finally managed to park at the back of the structure. Now let's explore this damn thing. Inside, there are 3 rooms to investigate. The rooms are bigger than you think. Basically, this probe and the whole station were created specifically to find the exact location of the eye. But a huge amount of energy was needed for this project to work. And that's where the first problem started. Up until this point in the records, they hadn't managed to activate the probe because there wasn't enough energy. But now, the fact is that this probe was launched, so something must have worked out. Still in this area, I can see the damage to the cannon from the shot. The whole structure seems to have been compromised. But all the data is sent to the Ash Twin project. Checking now on the rumor board, the funniest thing is that the Nomai computers recognize that the tracking module is listed as missing. The only place I hadn't seen yet was the launch module, since its passage was blocked, but you can enter through a crack in the glass if you go around outside. I pick up a few more texts and see an important projection. From what it looks like, the tracking module seems to be submerged, with purple electricity around it. These features remind me of Giant's Deep, especially in that core, a place I still don't know how to reach. Anyway, that's it here at the station, and I don't think we have much time left. And check this out. Every time you wake up, you'll be able to see the probe exploding from far away. Really cool. At this point in the game, I needed to keep exploring some planets, like the twins for example. So I went to the Ember Twin to find new quantum caves. I mess up a little and make it to the entrance of the Sunless City. The problem is that the passage was blocked by ghost matter. I even thought I could run through it, but it didn't work. When I go back there, I find another structure. It looks like it's a control, where we can retrieve some kind of explorer craft or activate the gravity cannon. Behind me was an entrance to the Sunless City, but the game trolled me because there were some annoying cacti in the way. After retrieving the explorer craft, I take a look inside the ship. In short, this part of the story is a parallel lore about the Nomai. A group of explorers went to investigate a comet, but some things went wrong. Be careful piloting this unfamiliar ship. You could head straight into the sun. Anyway, back at the city entrance, there's another path on the side, which leads us to the caves at the crash site. These are some of the first caves we investigated. And at this point, I start trying to understand the directions on how to get to the shelter site, based on the records. Be careful not to take too long. If the sand rises too high, you'll have to restart the cycle. Near the city entrance, I also found some records. And it turns out that in the caves, we can also find the High Energy Lab, a place that was used to develop the Ash Twin project. So let's go there, following the path they described, until we reach a really big door. Welcome to the Sunless City. This place is huge, and you'll probably come back here several times. At first, I started exploring randomly, but I don't recommend you do that. That's because there's an organization to things here. The right thing to do is to go to the center of the city first, because there's an energy control there that you can activate for each area of the place. We have the neglected anglerfish district, the stone chirps district, the trail to the high energy laboratory, and the temple of the eye district. And right there, just behind the plants, there's also some text to read. It looks like they built a solar station to get that massive amount of energy needed to run the Ash Twin project. The risk was huge because any failure would wipe out the entire solar system, including themselves. Oh my friends, be careful there. Okay, that explosion wasn't your fault, was it, you little slackers? Looking at some records, you can see how they were very curious creatures driven by knowledge. Suddenly, discovering the origin of the signal was like it was the only thing that mattered. The signal was older than the universe itself. But how could that be possible? Did the eye seek them out on purpose, or was it just an accident? Or maybe it's nothing and there isn't an answer? All of this kept them curious and eager to discover the truth behind this signal. And while I was reading all of this, time was running out and I ended up being crushed by the sand. Looking at the rumors again, new entries are added. The solar station, the white hole station, and the high energy lab. A cool fact to remember is that the Ash Twin towers were made from the same mold as the white hole station. It may not make sense now, but it will matter later. I went back to the city and explored as much as I could. I explored the cave with stone floors. The key is to read the kids' Nomai conversations to access the anglerfish fossil. I go to the passage to the overlooked fossil and send the scout right into the unlucky guy's mouth. Then just head to the cave with stone floors and follow the light. It's that simple. Just fire the scout and you're done. Here you'll find some records of the kids playing hide and seek, anglerfish style. But just above, there are some records from Nomai researchers about the origin of this fish. It definitely came from the dark bramble, but now how it ended up there is a mystery. Next stop, my friends, the high energy lab. The path here is pretty complicated. You have to wait for the sand to reach the right level before facing the cursed maze. Gravity tunnels, regular tunnels, and finally finding the entrance to the lab. Basically in this place, we learn about the warp technology of the Nomai. They were studying how the black hole and the white hole work. It seems that something that goes through the black hole can come out of the white hole before it actually enters the black hole. Yeah, that's kinda crazy. Not satisfied, their plan was to increase this time advance even more. So far, this laboratory would produce the necessary energy. In other records, they were studying at the Southern Observatory to reach an interval of 22 minutes. That is, to receive information 22 minutes before it was sent. But the main challenges were having an advanced enough translocation structure and also finding such a large amount of energy. Another thing was the necessary space. It would need to be similar to the Ash Twin project area. With these records, we're learning more about what the project was. To build it, they created a means of fast transportation between the planets to get the materials. That's when they built the warp towers on Ash Twin. Remember that these towers were built using the White Hole Station as a base. Another really important point, each tower takes you to a different planet. To make it easier, the towers are designed to resemble their destinations. And if you have any doubts, there's a drawing on the wall to help even more. Here you can also see the test in action. Turn on the little ball to activate the energy and connect the black hole and white hole cores. Then just launch the Scout and watch the magic happen. The idea here is to see how the Scout already appears on the other side without even having fully entered the black hole. Pretty cool, right? And here's a tip so you don't have to make that whole trip every time to the Hanging City. Find the gravity cannon and look for a small hole in the rocks. You'll soon reach a city district. After this tip, leave a like on the video. Next, we'll head to Brittle Hollow. We haven't explored that ancient settlement yet. Here I read some texts and walked on gravity stones, which was actually really cool. And I went to another place they built to escape the eruptions from the volcanic moon. Imagine a huge construction. These guys didn't mess around. Here we learn that the Nomai are really hyper-focused on knowledge. These guys are maniacs for learning new things. They even gathered in a kind of festival, bringing together everyone from the clan across the universe to talk about new discoveries. Continuing the exploration, this area is also divided into districts. We have the school, the Thaw, the Eye Temple, and the Black Hole Forge. Following the gravity path, I reached the room where we can control the forge's structure from afar. I still didn't know how to get there, but knowing about the control room is important. In records, we see that the Nomai will use the vessel's warp core as a base to create an even more powerful core to use in the Ash Twin project. The problem was being able to go there and get it, because the vessel was in the dark bramble. So they started studying how the anglerfish behaved to be able to get past them safely. Still searching the area, going up, I find what could be a really awesome shortcut to get to this area much more easily. So here's that tip for you too. In return, leave a like, you cheapskate. Now, heading towards the Eye District, once again we see the Nomai philosophizing about the purpose of the signal. Does the Eye hold all the knowledge of the universe? Is it a person or a being? Does it want to communicate on purpose? Or is it all just by chance? Anyway, all that's left for us is to keep investigating to find out. Now, trying to reach the Black Hole Forge district, the path was blocked, so I needed to find another way to get there. Anyway, our time had come to an end. Going to our rumor board, we now have the Hanging City there, which connects a lot of things. And just as a reminder, a warp core was built there at the Forge. Remember that the towers on the Ash Twin have fast teleportation to each planet. Now we need to figure out how this teleportation works. Following some incomplete rumors, I went to the cave at the dry lake bed. If you find chert on the Ember Twin, you'll easily spot this big hole. Go quickly, since the sand rises around then. If you wait too long, you'll miss your chance. The path there is really dark and it's easy to get lost. And for those who thought there wouldn't be any parkour in this game, get ready to fly carefully here. If you fall into the sand, it'll drag you down. Using the Scout here is essential so you know where to jump. At the end of the path, you'll enter a quantum cave. And what does that mean? Not everything is what it seems. Turn your light on and off if the path is blocked, and it'll work out. In the final area, you complete the lore of the Nomai who disappeared. This was the original place that made that Nomai disappear into the rocks. But other than that, that's pretty much it. The next stop now is to find a way to get to the White Hole Station. Halfway there, I got into trouble. I messed it up. What happened here? Taking the thing in the middle of space. Whoa, it's heading toward the sun. No! Oh, almost. Damn, man. I didn't see it was moving toward the sun. Anyway, moving on. The idea here is to apply what we've learned so far. If falling into a black hole means coming out of a white hole, then the White Hole Station must be in space right after entering that black hole in the Brittle Hollow. So let's just take the ship and everything. And voila, there it is. Let's go into this sketchy structure. It's in this place that we learn how teleportation works. The warp structures are aligned with the corresponding celestial body. In other words, each location will be aligned and connected to a specific planet or place. To be transported, you stand on the platform and look up, and at the moment the planet passes by and becomes aligned, you are teleported to the planet linked to that platform. Each structure will take you to a specific place, as we learned earlier. In practice, I went to activate the station and it started to spin. Up there, I stayed in position until I was transported back to Brittle Hollow. Pretty awesome, right guys? I used to think I had to keep holding this projection plate for it to work, but that's not true. You don't need to carry anything. And usually, in the same place where you arrived, there will be a platform to go back to the previous teleport. Really cool. With that, we finally updated the station on our rumor board. But alright, going back to Brittle Hollow, I found another structure. This is that so-called Southern Observatory, but the entrance isn't here. We'll have to find some alternate path through the Hanging City. But I was really excited to try out the teleports already. I went straight to the grayish one and looked for some towers. The first one I tried took me to the neighboring planet, the Ember Twin. I came right back and went to try another tower. But no! Oh man, we need to come back, everyone. There's more to do. I've never seen it this close. Leave a like! And guys, I kept trying to reach the planets and managed to get into the one with the broken structure. I got in right as the sandstorm passed, and this is what's going to happen. Incredibly, we finally arrived at the site of the Ash Twin project. Right away, we can see that they already know the statue from Timberhearth spoke to me, and the one from the Deep also spoke to Gabbro. In other words, they receive information in real time. This is where those masks are. Going a bit further, there will be a lot to read, but don't worry, I'll summarize it for you, and we'll even highlight some important points. From the beginning, the Nomai receive an extraordinary signal. They go after it using the vessel. The problem is that the signal could be anywhere in the universe. They spent years launching probes, but nothing worked. They needed to come up with a plan to send this probe in all directions at the same time. Along with that, they discovered how to travel to the past, going back up to 22 minutes. And with those masks, it's possible to receive information from each probe. Everything would need to be aligned in the same project, the Ash Twin project. For that, a lot of energy would be needed. So they created the solar station to try to blow up the sun and generate the necessary amount. The probe would launch, search for the signal for 22 minutes, then the station would blow up the sun to generate energy, receive the probe's data, and reset the cycle 22 minutes earlier, indicating if the signal was found. This cycle would repeat infinitely until the signal is found. Once it's found, they would receive the information with the exact location of the probe and would be able to deactivate the project, stopping this time loop. Yeah, man. The Nomai are a bit crazy in the head, but they're real geniuses. But the curious thing is that the solar station didn't work, so they couldn't create that supernova. But the explosion happened. We're living through it, so what could have happened? Moving forward here in this place, we have what powers the project. The advanced warp core, which if removed, interrupts this time loop. I don't think we can do that until we find a way to stop that supernova. Otherwise, the craziness would be eternal. And finally, the last and most important piece of information we received here is that the statues would only be activated if the project was successful or in case of failures. In other words, either the signal was finally found or something went wrong. But it's more likely that the probe found the signal, and that's why the statue activated when we passed near one. Gabbro must have looked at a statue right when the project succeeded too, since there are several in Giant's Deep. That's about it. I hope I managed to summarize the story so far for you. But we still have a few things left to investigate. Next stop is to find a way to enter the tower with the sun symbol, to try to reach the solar station and see what went wrong there. But you need to do some insane parkour, or get there a little earlier. I recommend you get there early because you'll get a lot less frustrated. Taking advantage of the high sand, you escape all the spikes and reach the tunnel quickly. Then you just have to wait for the sun to align and leave, my friends. When you get there, the system already warns you that the sun is starting to act weird. But hold on, Alexa, I know everything's going to explode. I've lived through this about 300 times already. And what's curious is that it seems the system has been stopped for 281,000 years. Man, has it really been that long since the Nomai were around here? Another important detail is that after the solar mission failed, they saw a comet approaching and decided to focus on it, because maybe they'd find a solution there. The comet in question is the Interloper, and we'll take a look at it later. Now we can get out of the station. Going back to investigating the towers, one of them took me to Timberhearth, and another one took me to Brittle Hollow. Just be careful because you're upside down, and if you try to fly, you'll lose gravity and get totally messed up. I took advantage of the trip and went to Brittle Hollow again through the White Hole Station. And I understood where we were teleported. That's where we can explore the Black Hole Forge. You need to go to the control, climb that structure, and then go to the gray one to use the teleporter. But before making this journey, checking our rumor board, the conclusion about the sun is that it has reached the end of its life. In other words, more than 280,000 years have really passed, which resulted in the end of the sun's life, causing a supernova naturally. Crazy, right? But anyway, let's go. I've already taken the power plant up there, and I'm heading to the twin to use the teleporter. Once I get to the right structure, I position myself and make that awesome trip. Careful again not to make a jump by accident, okay? Welcome to the Black Hole Forge. Check out this big thing here. Let's start this exploration. Honestly guys, here it's just more details about how the warp cores were built and how they needed to be aligned with the astral body, in this case the planets, so that they would work properly. Other than that, let's get out of here and check the new updates on the rumor board. Now, my friends, there was still one more tower left to investigate. And look at this. This one took me to Giants Deep. We still need to find ways to get through the currents to reach the core of this planet. And here's the thing. One of the tornadoes spin counterclockwise, and if you go into one of them, it'll push you down with a lot of force. That way you can get through that current. We get this information at the Southern Observatory, but I'll show you that later. Restarting the cycle, I head toward the sketchy reverse tornado. And check this out, kid. That huge shock field over there? Whoa, look at that. But you can't go straight there. Look what happened to our little scout. Poor thing. However, that red jellyfish can get through. So you'll need to swim underneath it, hide there until it crosses that shock field. It's kind of weird, but trust me, it'll work out. After you get through a shockwave, wait a little longer and get out of there. The place is super dark, so take it easy and try to see what you can. Once you find that structure, then it's all good, my friend. Here, we'll have some really important information. We're looking at and analyzing probe number 9,318,090. I don't even know how to say that number correctly. But actually, it was with the probe ending in 054 that the machine completed and found all the criteria that matched the Eye of the Universe. Looking at it now, it's possible that from 54 to 90 were the times I died. Could it be, man? I kept thinking about that. I think it makes sense. And that thing there, my friends, is the address of the probe that found the Eye of the Universe. Those are the coordinates. Did you get it? Me neither, man. But hold on, soon it will all make sense. For now, there are also some text to read, but that's it, you can move on. To leave, it's the same idea. Find a jellyfish and use it for transportation. But for some reason, my ship was 500 meters away. Maybe some tornado dragged it far away, I don't know. Fortunately, you can cross the current from below without any problem. Now, in a safer place, I take a look at our rumor board. Those coordinates we found have been saved as knowledge. That's great, guys. At this point, I decide to take a trip back to Brittle Hollow to finish a few things. In this area, I find the trail to the Tower of Quantum Knowledge and the observatory. The place is confusing, but that's intentional. On the way to the observatory, you'll do some wild parkour until you reach this wall of gravitational rocks, and finally, find the place where the studies about the tornadoes in the depths were done. Ideally, you should come here first before getting yourself in trouble in the currents. Up there, we see a beautiful drawing of the solar system and the Eye of the Universe above everything. In the rest of the text, there's nothing new that I don't already know, so I'm just going to get out of here. Next stop, Tower of Quantum Knowledge. In this place, we have some different paths to take. On one of them, you reach Rybeck. That's right, there's the man.
Hey there, little one, what's up? You finally took your first trip. This place is amazing. It was always my dream to visit the city. Honestly, I was scared of that thing down there, and this was the safest spot I found. Keep making great discoveries, my friend. As a final tip, leave a like on the video to help belongs. We're in this together. See you around.
And yeah, my buddy, just be grateful. Don't worry, I'll find a way to deal with this mess, I think. Now, getting back to the plan to visit the Quantum Tower, the problem is that the gravitational passage is broken, but there is a way to get there. And no, I'm not talking about that crazy idea of jumping into the black hole and using it for a boost, okay? If you know what I'm talking about, you know what I'm talking about. Got it? I'm going to tell you the right way to do this. You wait here for a small meteor from the volcanic moon to hit this part of the structure, causing it to collapse into the black hole and be carried into space. Now, out here in space, you'll be able to reach that upper area without any problem. It's in this area where we're going to learn about how the quantum moon works. The Nomai have been visiting this moon for a long time. After all, several generations of Nomai have lived in this solar system. Studying the moon became something very important to them. And remember when I said the moon had a sixth secret location? That's right, it seems that for this location to be reached, the moon's temple needs to be north of the planet. The planet I'm talking about here is the one the moon orbits, okay? So these directions are for when we're already visiting it, and from the drawing on the wall, the sixth location is right at the Eye of the Universe. I got really curious to get there, honestly. And check this out, looking at our map, I managed to find the moon orbiting around the twins. That sneaky thing keeps disappearing, man, so you have to stay alert. But before going there, I wanted to stop by that comet, the interloper. And honestly, this might be the saddest moment in the game. As you guys know, the last moments of the Nomai were right after the solar station failed. So they came to this comet, which was something new that appeared to them in the solar system. If you go to the back of the comet, you'll find a frozen ship, and in the recording, we find out that this ship is the Explorer. It's completely frozen, but some of the Nomai kept exploring the surface. However, there's something else to find here. And I had to record this scene later because I hadn't found it on my first playthrough. But since it's really important, I made sure to record and show you this part. If you stay in this crack in front of it and wait for the comet to pass near the sun, that ice will melt and a path will be revealed. Just be very careful, because there's a lot of ghost matter around here. There, I went to the left and then tested the paths. and the second tunnel was the only relatively safe place. Be very careful not to fall into that hole. And up there will be another path. In this other tunnel, do the same thing and analyze what's ahead. You'll need to go to the right first, and then to the left. Anything different from that is trouble, so stay sharp. At the end of the path, don't fall into that hole. Keep going up until you reach a passage up there. And if you find this Nomai Nomad base, you're in the right place. When you go down this passage, I found one of the biggest revelations in the game. In the core of the comet, there was matter compressed to absurd levels. The researchers understood the scale of the problem because that matter could be fatal. The records aren't clear about what caused the rupture, but the fact is that the core broke apart, and all the matter hit the solar system. In other words, all the Nomai were wiped out at the same time. That's why, even today, we still see some remnants of that matter across the worlds. Time must have cleaned up most of it, but that was their end. Drop an F in the chat, family. But anyway, now let's finally go visit that quantum moon. But just finding it and trying to reach it isn't enough, because check out what happens. Yeah man, the moon just disappears, and that's going to happen every time. Recall how those quantum rocks switched places when out of sight? Whenever you pass through that cloud, you lose sight of it, so it vanishes. What I had to do was launch the scout and take a picture of the moon before going through it. That way, its location stays on our screen. So it's like I never take my eyes off it. Following quantum laws, it stays where it is. And my friends, we've landed on the quantum moon for the first time. As soon as I get out of the ship, I come face to face with the Nomai who slept forever. And not far from there, I find one of their ships. Here we have a message from Solanum. Most importantly, we'll always land on its south side. No matter which side you approach the moon from, it'll always bring you in on the south side. Be careful with the ship's controls, or you might leave the moon and have to return the same way. When I returned, the moon was orbiting Giants Deep, so the environment changes. I thought that was really cool. Right ahead, we can already see the temple, and if you can't find it, just do a little Michael Jackson spin and it'll show up eventually. The temple lets you travel between the planets the moon orbits. To use it, just go inside and close the door. Then play around with that little light on the side. The indicator will show which planet it's on. Then you can go outside and explore the moon of each planet. Depending on your location, reaching the north may be impossible. Also, we must be there to enter the Eye of the Universe's orbit. Through the depths, I managed to get much farther, but right in the northern area, there was a huge typhoon. So I pulled a Michael Jackson and went to the Timberheart. Here, I was able to reach the north quite easily. Once I got here, I pulled the Beyblade move. And finally, let's try to head toward the Eye of the Universe. You'll be turning the light on and off constantly, just like I keep changing the villager's profession to get mending. If you're good at this, you can even check the ground in the dark and figure out which planet it is much faster. Now, my friends, the moment has arrived. Strange things are definitely going to happen here. Heading south, there's some kind of really weird tunnel coming up. And when I least expected it, I found a living Nomai. Yes, my friends, this is Solanum, just chilling here on the moon. They don't communicate like we do, they only speak through stones and symbols. But fortunately, we have a translator at hand. We always need to put two stones together to read all the dialogues. She quickly plays Clash Royale on her iPhone, then sends us the text. Since there's a lot here, I'll summarize everything we learned in this conversation. The philosophy of the Nomai is to always try to understand things, to continuously seek knowledge. She thinks she's both alive and dead. Strange, right? The game plays with perspective. Everything depends on the observer. Right now, I feel she's alive, but in reality, she might not be. This place is the closest they've ever reached to the Eye of the Universe. Another question they have is understanding the relationship between the quantum physics of this moon and the Eye of the Universe. What would happen if someone conscious, seeing everything, entered the Eye of the Universe? This was one of the clan's biggest questions. Finally, she considers our meeting a special event and wants to be our friend. Cuteness alert, guys. We've finished all possible conversations, I think. Other than that, there's nothing left for us to do here. I didn't expect it, but you're also getting wiped out by the supernova on the quantum moon, unfortunately. And so we've successfully completed the lore of the quantum moon. But unfortunately, it's time to go to the Dark Bramble. I mean, the Bramble. I'm already scared out of my mind. Let's go. To explore this planet, you can't just go wandering around randomly. After all, you won't get anywhere and you'll end up dying to those stupid fish. Seriously, it happened to me several times. So here's the ultimate tip. You need to use your signal scope to reach the important points. At first, I started looking for Feldspar's harmonica. Remember that we heard it around here? That's right, that's how you get to places in here. This way you know exactly where you can go in. Sometimes the signals might show up duplicated because the map here is kind of crazy. but it's all made to confuse you. So try using your Scout 2 to find the easiest path. And that's how we finally got to where that seed from Timber Hearth was pointing. Yes, my friends, Feldspar is alive. He's now living peacefully inside an anglerfish fossil. The guy is crazy, right? He told us he came here out of curiosity, wanting to be the first Hearthian to visit this planet. And that's when he started exploring, and accidentally ended up falling into this area. At least he managed to survive, but he lost his ship. Most importantly, he talks about a way to reach the core of Giant's Deep. Following this anglerfish's tail, we spot his ship's light blinking in the distance. Then, entering a hollow vine, we somehow magically reach Giant's Deep's core. And according to the records there, some tests that Feldspar did, he teaches you that it's possible to use those jellyfish to enter the core without getting shocked. But we already knew that, right? And we've completed this step. Besides that, he tried to grill some jellyfish, but the thing tastes like absolute garbage. With that, we wrap up this part of the lore. The next mission on this planet is to find the vessel's third escape pod, and for that, I used the function to search for distress signals. Can't go wrong, just keep doing the same thing. Here, I find the Nomai ship all wrecked among some vines. In the text, we only have information about how the accident happened, and the most important thing is to follow these lights they left behind. They lead us to the vessel. That's right, if you remember, the vessel is also here in Dark Bramble, and it's super important to find this ship. The problem is, they said the signal was duplicated for them, but there's a solution for that. First, you follow the lights until you reach one of those seeds, and unfortunately, you'll see some Nomai who died here. They got very close, but it wasn't enough. The idea here is to shoot your scout through the seed, and just follow the coordinate that shows up on the screen. If you go straight in, the game will mess you up with 3 anglerfish waiting for you right at the entrance. Man, I even glitched the game there out of desperation, but I couldn't escape those bastards. But check it out. The strategy here is just to use the power of inertia. One of the records about the study of these fish says that they're blind, so I just have to not make any noise. So before entering the seed, you boost your ship and let it move forward naturally without pressing any direction. That way you won't make any noise and you'll keep moving. It's a little scary, but trust me, it works. As soon as I reached those strange little balls, I was already far enough from those creatures. So I redirected the ship toward the scout and continued my journey, still being very careful not to make too much noise. Arriving in the new direction, now it's more peaceful. There didn't seem to be any anglerfish in the area. And here, welcome to the famous vessel. Let's go explore this mess. Here I found some questionable structures, some puzzles that didn't seem to make sense, and in the records, the Nomai reveal that the entire universe seems to be dying. There are a lot of stars that have been exploding, so that's not a good sign, right? And going back to our rumor board, another important detail is to remember that here in the vessel, it's possible to warp using coordinates. In fact, that's how they ended up here, but the core was broken. So hold on, because this is the point in the game where we have to put all the pieces of this puzzle together. We already have the location of the Eye of the Universe, and that puzzle, which seemed strange before, now makes sense, because that's where you input those coordinates to translocate. But we need a new core. That's when we need to go to the Ash Twin and get the core that makes the project work. The problem is, when we remove the core, the time loop will end, and if we die, it's game over forever. Just kidding. Luckily, it's just a game, so we can reload our last save. Otherwise, that would be way too unfair. Anyway, we need to get the core and bring it here. For the vessel to work again, we insert the coordinates and can teleport to the Eye of the Universe. So my friends, let's start our last attempt to reach the Eye of the Universe. And for you who's struggling to get to the Ash Twin project like I am, there's a foolproof technique. Leave the scout at the portal because it will let you know when the black hole is activated. And then, my friend, it's all good. But let's go ahead and expose the core and then manually turn off the gravity. Now I borrow the warp core and the time loop ends. In other words, if you die, it's forever. There I was, in the Dark Bramble, right at the beginning, and I was already heading to the distress signal from Pod 3. And suddenly, no! Where did you come from? You weren't here, man! Now the world don't move. But don't worry, you just reload the save and go for another try. And here's a tip for you. For some reason, the Dark Bramble got harder after removing the core, so try using the inertia strategy to reach your destination safely. Without making noise. No sudden noises, otherwise you'll end up as anglerfish dinner. Once there, I photograph the coordinates and enter the vessel. In the room, I place the core and activate the system with the small sphere. Then I drag it to the other side to activate the code map. And now, just start drawing each one and move on to the next page. The structure will eventually descend, giving us another sphere to activate. This is insane, man. We're face to face with the eye of the universe. It's really insane. Exploring the ship, some things have changed. In the recordings, we have the Nomai who used to command this ship, Skull, Felix, and a few others. They were about to teleport to the eye of the universe, just waiting for the core to charge. They were going to inform the other clans about the location, but they were so excited that they decided to send the location once they got there. In other words, they were being way too eager, man. If they'd sent the coordinates, I wouldn't be dealing with this. Those bastards left nothing for Bettinia's crew. At least I made it this far. Welcome to the Eye of the Universe. We're stepping onto uncharted territory for the first time, and honestly, it's hard not to get emotional upon arriving here. After everything we've been through, I didn't know what to expect. Just appreciate this moment. And just like that, out of nowhere, we're back at the Outer Wilds Museum. I start to explore until I notice there's something to observe up there. It's as if I'm observing, on an immense scale, all the stars, solar systems, galaxies exploding and reaching the end of their lives. Until, suddenly, there's nothing left and everything goes dark. After walking for a long time, I find a Harthian signal. But the signal was me. And then, magically, Esker appears, and he asks me if I like music. That's a key question, because suddenly, musical signals will start to appear, and each instrument has its own way of being found. So when you return to the campfire, the instrument's owner will be there. Hey, Ryback! We still need to find the others, so hang on. Explore calmly and figure out how to find each one. It's pretty straightforward. Look, there's Chert! And the most curious thing was finding this Nomai ship, too. Inside, we even found a mask. And check this out. Solanum appears at this moment too. She will help us move forward and thanks us for remembering her. Next, we retrieve Gabbro's flute, and now we just have to get Feldspar's harmonica. And with that, everyone was gathered together. Only those who were the space travelers. And in this ending, I ask everyone to play their instruments. And so we enjoy once again the soundtrack that surrounded us throughout the whole game. Finally, it was time to move on to the next step, and we talked to Solanum. At that moment, it's as if a world of infinite possibilities was before us. Solanum doesn't agree with this reality because destiny was inevitable. But at least we would be part of it. If you talk to each of them beforehand, you can also see what each one is thinking about the end of the universe. Gabbro is happy with everything they've experienced. Feldspar seems resigned and anxious about what's coming next. Esker is happy to be able to play music with everyone gathered after so long. Chert is curious about the new changes in the new universe. And Rebek is a bit more reflective about the past and the future, but he's also ready to move on. Finally, my friends, we talked to Solanum to reach the end of the story. The journey was long, but the fate was inevitable. And after more than 14 billion years, a new universe and a new civilization had been created. Just like us, they were gathered around a campfire. And this, my friends, is the end of Outer Wilds. The game shows us the journey of the Hearthians, but mainly the journey and quest for knowledge of the Nomai in the face of a universe that was about to come to an end. The endless search resulted in something special. It was possible to witness the end of an era up close and be part of the beginning of a new life. It's as if you were part of the Big Bang and could have seen everything from inside the explosion. And maybe this new universe was created based on your own perspectives on life, which may explain why the new race is also gathered around a campfire. The game explores perspectives, suggesting everything might be connected. But what about you? What do you think this ending means? Let me know in the comments, man. I always read everything, okay? But I'll stop here, my friends. If you haven't left a like yet, now is the time. Subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any new videos. And also join our Discord group to chat with me and meet some awesome people. If you want to keep watching more content from the channel, I left 2 options on the screen that I'm sure you'll enjoy. Big hug to you all, God bless, and I'll see you in the next video. Zambra!